Hi, welcome to Anchor Moments. I'm Gina Lebenz, your host, and I have with me today a new friend. Her name's Elena Porter. I had a friend of mine tell me, you've got to meet Elena. Actually, it was Beatrice.
Yes.
Beatrice from Origami Owl told me, you have got to meet Elena. You will love her. You guys will be like super fast friends, and she'd be wonderful on your show. So we sat and had a 3-hour dinner and had so much fun chatting.
Couldn't stop talking.
Yes. So, Elena, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Okay, so to start off with, I kind of got to go backwards and take you back a few years. So I was married young, and I had 4 children in 4.5 years. So that kind of kept me really busy and.
Wow, so 4 children in 4.5 years.
4.5 years.
So you were always pregnant and had a baby.
Yes.
A fresh one.
Exactly. Yeah, I had 2 that were 11 months apart and 2 that were 16 months apart. So they were just boom, boom, boom. And it was fun. It was a lot of fun chaos. And but you know that if you have 4 babies, then you have 4 toddlers, then you have 4 kids, and then you have 4 teenagers. And life got pretty crazy at that time. And to add to the craziness, I ended up turning up pregnant again and was pregnant with my 5th child. Now, this was a big surprise because my husband had a permanent vasectomy. And
so after 4 kids, you're like, this was great. We love them. We're done.
We're done.
He had the vasectomy.
Yes.
And you're pregnant again. For
I even
baby number 5.
And that Christmas that we were sitting there and we had just taken down our swing set. We had actually taken down the pool fence because we didn't need the level of security on the pool anymore. We turned our whole house into a teenage house. And I remember my husband had his arm around me and it was Christmas. He goes, I'm so glad we had our kids so young. I could never go through it again. And at that time, without knowing it, I was pregnant with my 5th child. So
wow.
That brought us into a little bit of crazy.
Wait, and how old was your youngest of the 4?
He 11 years gap, 11 years.
Oh my gosh, so your youngest was 11 after having 4, and now you're pregnant with your 5th one, and there was a vasectomy.
Yes.
What happened?
So it was pretty, I have to give my husband credit because he never questioned me, and he had every right to do so. Everybody would, you know, of that concern. But we did go down the journey of having to figure out how did this happen, right? Because who would know? And what had ended up happening is that somehow a God moment, probably my first major anchor moment, is somehow both the tubes had grown back and become completely functional again, and therefore he had to go through a second vasectomy in order to make sure that I would not end up with 6 children. So, but we welcomed this beautiful baby, you know. It was like he had 3 moms and 3 dads because we had 2 girls and 2 boys already, and life got really full, Gina, really crazy and really full. So. In that season, I remember the typical ways of me finding peace just weren't happening. So I'm a runner. I like to run, and I like to run up hills, and I pray when I get stressed out. I get to my knees and I pray, but it felt like kind of nothing was bringing that peace that I had experienced in my lifetime. I remember one of my daughters had said, well, you have 4 teenagers, something's always going to be going on. And something was always going on. And someone had mentioned to me, why don't you try yoga? And I was like, too slow. You know what I mean? Just, I think it's just too slow for me.
And she's really spunky, by the way. She's like crazy spunky, so full of energy.
I just couldn't imagine moving that slow. So I was like, I don't think so. And then I remember I was just talking to some friends and just saying, I'm really trying to calm my spirit. I feel so anxious all the time. And the second person said, why don't you try yoga? I'm like, I just don't think so. And by the time the 3rd person asked me, I decided I'm going to try it. I'm going to go try it. So I went to my gym that I was working out at. I went into the class, and it's really hard because I only remember walking in a little nervous because most people are on their first time taking yoga.
Oh, sure.
Shut the door, and all I remember is for 1 hour, the world stayed outside the door while I was stepping into a place that just brought me complete peace. I wasn't anxious. I didn't think of my issues or concerns or worries. And for 1 hour, I felt calm and peaceful. And I was able to bring that home. I went home, I just felt like a different person. And I thought, it must be kind of a fluke thing. And I thought, I'll try it again. That can't just possibly happen just because I'm sitting in this room doing yoga. So I went back and took another class, and the same thing happened. I came out just so calm and peaceful, and I would come home and kind of bring that tranquility into the home, and it was beautiful. So I started to practice yoga a lot, and I found myself wanting to do yoga even more than I wanted to run, which was surprising to me. Because, I mean, my whole life I've been a runner. But so I kind of became obsessed with it. I mean, I was taking classes at the gym, I was reading about it, I got books at the library, and I started to study yoga, and the more I studied it, the more it promised a spiritual component that I was not feeling. I felt calm, felt peaceful, but I really didn't feel spiritual. I went to studios, I went to, my gym classes, and finally I kind of like, one day, I'm just walking to the house and it kind of hit me, well, my faith wasn't involved. So it was either super mechanical with deep breathing, and there's so much science behind calming your breath and allowing to calm your nervous system, but I was not, it was not intertwined with my faith, so something was missing. And so I got together a playlist of random music, and that's important to make note of. At that particular time, I wasn't really listening to Christian music. I just wasn't. So I just took random music, inspirational music. I took a Bible verse, and I took a inspirational quote that I found, and I combined this together and went out in my garage. Now, I will tell you, it was like 110 degrees out there, middle of the summer, and I practiced. So
it was like hot yoga.
I might have invented hot yoga. We don't know. We don't know. I might be able to claim
110 degrees and in the garage. And
I was sweating so much.
I can imagine,
I mean, I was dripping sweat. But I sat there, I read the verse, I meditated, I practiced yoga to this very beautiful inspirational music, and it was undeniably the most intense spiritual connection I'd ever experienced in my life, ever.
Can you explain how that felt?
It was a sense of peace. Like, it wasn't the type of peace when I was just practicing yoga. It was a connection. I mean, I was crying. I felt like the room was so thick with just God. It's just so beautiful. And I remember I went running in the house to tell my husband, because I'm a little freaked out, to be honest with you, because it felt intense. And I had never experienced anything like that. So I
I just asked because there's people in our audience who may be wondering, that may have gone to church and do different little things, going through the motions, but not have that feeling, and to kind of know what that is like.
It's pretty indescribable, because it was a beautiful sense of peace, but it truly felt like God was present in the room with me. And I just felt secure, I felt safe, I felt peaceful, and I just felt pure love, pure love. So I went running in the house to tell my husband. We worked out of our home at that time. And I said, I can't even put into words. I was stuttering, like, what just happened in the garage? And finally he kind of laughed. He said, well, it's 110 degrees. Are you sure you're not having like heat stroke? And I'm like, oh yeah, funny. No, it's not heat stroke. I was crystal clear sure I had an experience. But I will tell you, it kind of freaked me out. And I thought, well, I'll try tomorrow again. So the next day I get up and I put together a new playlist of music and got a new verse and got a new quote. And I meditated. I read the verse, I read the quote, I meditated, I played music, I practiced yoga, and it was as thick as the day before.
Wow, 2 days in a row.
Yep.
Wow.
It was crazy. And so I started thinking, this is it. There was the missing piece. It was my faith. And so I just started practicing in the garage. I stopped going to the studios and the gyms and everything, and I just intentionally was practicing in my garage every day. I couldn't not have that experience. And every time I walked into that room, I felt the same way.
There's that expression, be still and know that I am.
Exactly.
And they tell you that so many different times, you just need to be still and quiet yourself. And you were experiencing that daily in the garage.
I was experiencing it daily in the garage. And it was something that just set my day at a place that, allowed me to carry it through. That sense of peace, that connection with God, those moments of just reaching and listening and hearing and feeling, was able to carry that through the day. And so that was it. I just was practicing. I went on with my life, and it wasn't long after that, about, I would say like maybe a month, I was at church, and one of the pastors got up and they said, I want to start a sports ministry, and is anybody interested in doing some type of class or leading a team? And I know I smile kind of funny when I think, because I could just remember my husband elbowing me and saying, why don't you do that thing you do in the garage? And Gina, honestly, I felt like the whole entire world stopped. A spotlight came on me, and I was frozen, because I was thinking, I just made it up.
And you never taught a yoga class. You used to take yoga classes.
Yes.
You never taught yoga classes.
No, and this is we're talking months, right? I've only been doing this for months. And so I said, be quiet. And he's like, why? I said, don't talk about it. It's private. And he said, well, look what it's done for you. It's been life-changing for you. And I said, well, whatever. No one would get it. It's not. It's just made up. So I'm sitting there at church, and I'm sitting there the whole time. I don't even know what the sermon was about, because I just kept hearing like an inner voice saying, you need to do this. And I'm like, no way. I'll be laughed out of the community. Like you said, I'm not a yoga teacher. I've only been practicing for a few months, and nobody's going to get it. It's not possible. So,
and how long had you been playing in the garage doing your own special thing?
Just
you
like
and God?
A month. Just like a month.
So about a month of that. Okay.
I was just really new. And
really
new. And I'm thinking nobody's going to get it. I just made it up. It's just private. So I sat there, and I'm in my mind having probably an argument with God, saying, I can't do this. I can't do this. I'm not doing it. And church was over, go walking outside, and I'm out to the foyer area, and I remember the doors opened up, and then Pastor Greg was standing there, which was the one that is starting the sports ministry. And again, I have to chuckle, because I remember sitting there almost like outer body experience, watching myself walk up to Greg, and my mouth just starts talking without my permission. I could watch myself saying, hey, Greg, what about Christian yoga? How about I lead a class in Christian yoga? It's brand new. No one's ever heard about it. I'm not sure if it'll catch on. And I remember his eyes were like, he did a head tilt, like, he said, like, what is it? And I said, people have never heard of it yet, because it's super new, like no one's heard of it yet. And he said, what is it called? And in that moment, I remember I felt like, again, the world stopped, and I'm like, what am I going to call this thing? And I said, Christ-centered yoga, brand new, no one's heard of it.
Christ-centered yoga.
Christ-centered.
Christ-centered
yoga.
Yoga. Christ-centered yoga.
And he says,
That's very beautiful.
Okay. And I'm like, maybe you better go ask somebody else. I'm not sure if that's going to be good enough. And I said, why don't you ask the lead pastor, the senior pastor? He goes, okay, I'll do that. Maybe you better ask his wife as well. She led the worship arts team. He goes, okay. I said, well, maybe you better go to the board too. I'm thinking in my mind, like, this is crazy. This is going to be a little bit controversial. And I knew it was going to, because it was like the beginning of faith-based yoga. And where's that coming from? Because it's not coming from me. I'm just a little practitioner on the side here myself. So he calls me back like in a day or two, and he says, I've talked to everyone. They think it's great. You can start on Monday. We'll put it in the bulletin, and then you can have your first class on Monday. So I get off the phone. I scream for my husband, because I'm so mad at him now, because I'm thinking, what did you get me into?
Oh, yeah, because it's scary, because you're now
Really
outside your comfort zone.
Really
and God
scary.
right now is needing to stretch you to be able to, because now to be a teacher of this, that, it's not like Zumba or something. I mean, it's its own special thing that you created in the garage with God.
And that nobody else had heard of it, and I knew it, and I was a little bit freaked out. So he comes, and this is where it gets kind of funny, but he comes up and he says, don't worry about it, Elena. And I'm a computer programmer by trade, but I was in mid-range computers. I didn't work with PCs or anything. I wasn't working with the internet. And so this is really going to date me and date the, it's been 17 years since I started
So this happened
yoga.
17 years ago?
17 years ago.
I didn't realize you've been doing this for 17 years.
17 years. So he says, don't worry. There's this thing called the internet. All you have to do is type it in. There's people all over the world doing it. I said, oh, really? He goes, oh, yeah, you'll find somebody. It goes, I've never typed anything in here that doesn't come back with people all around the world doing it. And I said, interesting, that's awesome. So he types in Christian yoga, and nothing comes up. And all of a sudden he goes, oh, well, I've never seen that happen. And I'm like, oh, lovely. And he goes, well, what was that other name you were going to use? I said, Christ-centered yoga. And I'm like super nervous. So he types in Christ-centered yoga and nothing comes up. And I said, that's it, I'm not doing it. I mean, I'm not doing it. I felt like I was potentially going to take the church down in one swoop. No one's going to understand it. Nobody's out there doing it. I'm not doing it. And he goes, just get your little paper, because I always write on the paper my little notes. He goes, just get your little paper and take your little playlist and go to church tomorrow and just do your little class like you do.
Yeah.
So I went the first time, and I had 3 people there, and I was so excited. I didn't think anybody would show up.
And you just had three guests.
3 guests. One was Pastor Greg, so he came to support.
That's nice. Yeah.
Yep. And then I was super excited. I still remember he came up and whispered in my ear, don't worry about it. Sometimes it takes a while for people to catch on to things.
Right.
And I remember I turned my back, and I had the biggest smile on my face, and I just said, you know what? And I turned back, I said, Greg, I didn't think anybody would show up. I'm so thrilled that 3 people are here. Don't worry about it. So I taught my class. I was all excited. And the next Monday I came back, and I just had 1. Just 1. And I think that in the next several months, God taught me a very, very powerful lesson, because every day I'd come, I'd have 1 student. And I was thrilled. And I remember thinking that...
And it wasn't always the same student?
No, it was the same student.
Oh, it was the same?
I had just 1.
Okay.
And I learned the value of 1.
Yeah.
Because I realized that it didn't matter if only 1 person showed up, or 100 or 1,000. If I could inspire, if I could motivate, if I could encourage 1 person to be kinder, to love deeper, to be a little more peaceful, to be more centered, that ripple effect would be amazing. And I just kept showing up. So as long as 1 person showed up, she'd walk in and I'd say, lucky you, private lesson. And she'd say, lucky me. And then we'd practice yoga. Aww. And that continued for a while. I think maybe several months I had 1 student, and then that 1 turned to 10, that turned to 100, that turned to 1,000. And since 17 years ago when I started, we've had thousands and thousands and thousands of people come through the doors. Yoga is free. It's open to the whole entire community. So I would say about 33% of the people that come are not Christian, and that's really important. I want to tell you why. And 33% don't go to our church. It's just open to anybody.
So it's open to anybody?
Anyone. And people travel from all around the valley to come to classes. And
it's always free?
Always free. And that was clearly by design by God. It was never even a thought in my mind to charge money. I have now 9 teachers. They all wouldn't take a penny if I tried to give them a penny, because that it's our service. This is how we serve.
It's
people.
Your ministry.
It's our ministry, exactly.
It's your volunteer ministry that you're doing together with God, for people. And 1/3 of the people who take your classes don't necessarily believe in God, but they're still there.
Yes, and this is why I think it's so...
And they're going to the church.
And they come, well, some of them end up going into church. Some of them, some of them find their faith through yoga. Some of them come back to their faith through yoga, which is really important, because churches have hurt a lot of people, and sometimes people leave church because of church, right?
Yeah.
And then they'll come in through yoga, and really good yoga, by the way, because all the teachers are just amazing with beautiful hearts that just want to, and it's very lighthearted. I mean, like, what I'm saying is that it's really about Jesus' love. And sometimes we get Christianity really complicated, but in yoga we don't make it complicated. It's really about love and hope and peace and faith and just being a good person. Can people just be a good person, you know?
Jesus was about that.
Yes, he was.
He loved everybody.
Yep. Well, there's a major movement now. There's schools that certify Christian yoga teachers. When I got certified, there was not. I ended up going and getting certified. I did. I flew back to New Jersey. I actually stayed in a convent, and that was an experience. Boy, was that an experience. So I stayed in a convent, and there was a 200-hour yoga certification there. And then they had a small, this was years later, they had a small 8-hour component of Christian yoga. But it was nothing like how I do yoga. And so when I went back, there was kind of fun to show them what I do. And they're like, wow, their eyes were kind of open to the outreach that it is. Because here's the thing, I think it was very It was very interesting that God would use somebody, me, who didn't read the Bible very much. So I am the farthest thing from a Bible scholar. I do read the Bible regularly now, but at that time in my life, when this was all coming, this is why I was so scared. Who didn't listen to Christian music, by the way, and so the reason I say that is because I love Christian music and I listen to it all the time now. But my playlists for yoga are eclectic. Because if people can come in and hear and feel something, and that's why I use quotes as well as the Bible and the verses, is because if they can come in and connect to anything or something and feel God's love through that, it just opens the door a little bit, right? So if you think of the Rolling Stones, you can't always get what you want, but you get what you need. And you can spin that to say, God always gives you what you need. And that's what we talk about in yoga. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So you can kind of just take different music and then, of course, Christian, beautiful music. There's so much out there now, and create these classes that are non-threatening, but it's always about Jesus' love.
Wow. And now you have thousands of people who work on it.
We have thousands and thousands of people that come. In fact, our church moved to a new facility, and the new students, now this is just to yoga, not necessarily do they come to church, but that is always the hope, right, that they'll find Jesus through these classes. But even if they don't, they feel love. They hear about love, and it kind of just makes Jesus who he is, which is a kind person who is love and accepts all of God's people.
Absolutely.
So we moved to a new building, and we got computerized, and with our sign-ins and such. But in a short period of, I think it was a little under 2 years, we had 1,700 new people come. 1,700 from all around the valley, just walking through the doors and having 1 hour of concentrated time with God, with themselves, with their hearts open, and with a beautiful theme to kind of just experience love.
That is so beautiful. Now, we're going to have a special treat, because I've not even seen how you do this. But our last 5 minutes today, we are going to have Elena lead us in some Christian-centered yoga.
We're going to do a Christ-centered meditation.
A Christ-centered meditation.
Christian meditation, yes. And the beginning of all of our classes in yoga, we always do some meditation. So we're going to do it together today.
Okay.
And
I'm excited.
This is exciting. So many people have wanted to start meditation practices. It is something that is very beautiful for your mind, body, and spirit. And so I'm going to lead you through this right now. So what we would like to do, and all the friends out there too as well, is sit up nice and tall.
Nice and tall.
And you can take your hands and place them on your knees with your palms up. And you want to sit up tall. I'll notice people kind of hunch over. We want to sit up tall, shoulders on your back so your heart is open.
Okay.
And if you are at home and you want to participate with us as well, that is beautiful. So now you want to softly close your eyes.
Okay.
And we want to begin with our breath. So you're going to take a nice deep inhale through your nose, nice deep inhale, breathe it in, and then nice deep exhale through your nose. Okay. So as you take your next inhale and breathe in, try to breathe in through your nose, a 4 to 5 second inhale, 4 to 5 second exhale through your nose. Beautiful. As you take your next inhale and breathe in, feel your chest rise. Feel your ribs expand through your back, and then feel that oxygen flow all the way down to your lower belly. Nice, deep, consistent breath. And as you begin to connect with your breath, inhaling freely, exhaling freely, begin to notice how your breath can clear your thoughts. Let go of the chaos and the cray-cray. We're going to leave it at the door. And as you take your next inhale and breathe in, pause at the top of your breath. And then as you exhale, 4 to 5 seconds, pause at the bottom of your breath. Do that one more time. Inhale to the top of your breath and pause. And then exhale to the bottom of your breath and pause. Now as you continue with that breath, just let it flow freely, inhaling and exhaling. Because friends, you can breathe. We breathe every day. We inhale, we exhale. It keeps us alive. We don't even think about the breath, but when you put intention behind your breath becomes powerful. can calm your anxieties. You feel a sense of peace. It brings clarity and openness to your heart and to your mind. And it allows you to be connected. When God breathes, you breathe. Just a rhythm. Find that rhythm of your breath. So the verse for meditation will be, as Gina said earlier, be still and know that I am God. Psalm 46:10, be still and know that I am God. We live in this very fast-paced world. We want everything done, like we call it a microwave world. We want everything in 1 minute or less. Very seldom will we be still and quiet and embrace the beauty of stillness. So continue to breathe here a few breaths. Inhale. Exhale. So as you continue with that breath, I want to take just your mind's eye to a beautiful pasture. So imagine that you're laying flat in this beautiful pasture that is so green, the grass is so soft, and it's so tall. And as you're laying there flat, the back of your hands melt into the grass. Your shoulders melt down into the grass. You feel peaceful. You feel calm. And you feel safe. As you take your next inhale and breathe in your mind's eye, you can see this beautiful tree right above you with leaves that span so far out. There's shade on every part that you can see. The different colors of the grass, the different colors of the leaves of the tree, the different oranges and greens, and they make you feel calm, they make you feel peaceful, and you feel safe. In this stillness, as you breathe in, you feel God, you feel love, you feel hope. Slowly open your eyes.
Oh, and that is the end for today.
That's the end for today.
Thank you, everyone who came. Boy, that made me feel a lot of peace, too. That was so beautiful. And we're going to have Elena back next week. And she has some more Anchor Moment stories she's going to share with us. And maybe we'll have time to do another meditation at the end of the next show, too. I would just love
beautiful.
that.
Love it.
Thank you,
Bye,
everybody.
you guys.
The preceding program was brought to you by the Holy Spirit Broadcasting Network, HSBN Television.